Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to third session of Chikitsa City 2020, the national level webinar series organized by Kaya Chikitsa Department of Ashtanga Ayurveda Chikitsalayam Evam Vidyapeetham. It has brought for a wonderful opportunity for understanding Ayurveda Chikitsa concept with the clinical experiences, studies, and practices over years. Today, on the third day of Chikitsa City, I happily welcome all the delegates who have joined us. Dear delegates, please note that a certificate will be provided for those who attended at least 5 webinars for the series. All need to fill the feedback form which will be provided in the chat box during the session, and make sure that you have muted your mic and turned off the video for the smooth class. You may raise your doubts at the end of the session through the chat box. Let's start our session with the blessings of Almighty. I invite Subhana, final year student Ashtanga, for the prayer.
आनन्द संसार समुद्रधारा नौकायिताभ्यां गुरुभक्तिदाभ्यां वैराग्य साम्राज्यद पूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां कवित्ववाराशि निशागराभ्यां दौर्भाग्यदावाम्बुध मालिकाभ्यां दूरीकृतानम्र विपत्तिदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्याम्.
Thank you, Subhana. Now I invite Arvindis, final year student Ashtanga, for welcome speech.
Honorable Resource Person, respected teachers, organizing committee, delegates, and my dear friends, warm good afternoon to all. It is indeed a special privilege and a pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of Ashtangam family when our Kaya Chikitsa department is conducting the third class of Chikitsa Siddhi 2020 National Level Webinar Series on the topic Vadavyadi Chikitsa Principles and Practices. First of all, I would like to welcome our Honorable Resource Person, Dr. Arathi P.S. Ma'am, Professor and HOD of Department of Panchakarma, Shantigiri Ayurveda Medical College, Palakkad. Now I welcome our beloved teachers of Kaya Chikitsa department who are working wholeheartedly in making Chikitsa Siddhi a success. I welcome most respected Dr. Alathur Narayan Nambisa, Principal and HOD of Department of Kaya Chikitsa, Ashtangam Ayurveda Vidyapeetham. Up next, I welcome Dr. Manoj Kumar Sir, Deputy Medical Superintendent and Assistant Professor of Kaya Chikitsa Department of Ashtangam Ayurveda Vidyapeetham. Also, our dear Ansari Ma'am, Assistant Professor of Kaya Chikitsa Department as well. Now, I welcome all the delegates and my classmates to the session. Have a nice day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Aravind. Today, as we are here for the third session of Chikitsa Siddhi 2020 webinar series, Ashtanga family is extremely delightful to have Dr. Arathi P.S. for grace this webinar and enlightening us on the topic Vadavyadi Principles and Practices. Dr. Arathi P.S. graduated from Government College of Indian Medicine, Mysore, and postgraduated from Government Ayurveda College, Thiruvananthapuram. Served at many Ayurveda colleges in various capacities as professor, principal, and medical director. Worked as the part of the research team in the project titled Consistency in Ayurveda Diagnosis, conducted by AVP Research Foundation, Coimbatore. Presented papers in national and international seminars on the topic metabolic disorders, arthritis, healthy living, Ayurveda design, etc. Presently working as Professor and HOD Department of Panchakarma, Shantigiri Ayurveda Medical College, Palakkad. On behalf of Ashtanga family, with gratitude and honor, I invite Dr. Arathi P.S. to deliver the class.
And the difficulties faced by people once these diseases become chronic, and the way it affects their personal life and their socializing. So these are the reasons which everyone is knowing. That's why every time there is a chance for discussing Vatavyadi, it generates quite a lot of interest because we need to explore the discussion or the methodology of treatment. As far as this condition is concerned, it has never reached a full stop. Again and again we need to explore and we need to find out better methods so that we will be able to serve the suffering in a better way, isn't it? And also public are also equally concerned regarding the Vatavyadi. See, these are some of the common questions that we face as doctor. Even you also will be knowing, junior doctors will definitely know that whenever people develop certain symptoms, major or minor, whether it may be pain or it may be reduction in the strength or it may be numbness. So these are the common questions. Doctor, do I have Vata? That means they want to know whether they have any disease of Vata. Will I have to take medicine lifelong? Can I go back to my work? They're eager to know whether it will cure and they can go back to their work. And it seems I will never recover completely. Is it true? And some people tell that it seems I will become confined to bed very soon. Please help me, because the apprehension that they may become bedridden and they will not be able to work anymore. And there can be some concerns are real or some are out of the proportion. And whereas there is another extreme end wherein they do not know about the swabhava of Vata Vyadis, and because somebody tells them, they become very optimistic with the Ayurveda treatment. I have tried everything but in vain. I am told that you can solve my issue. Doctor, how much time you will need to cure my condition? Because so far they have not approached any Ayurveda doctor. For the first time they're coming, and they believe that whatever may be the chronicity or intensity of their problem, this new doctor, Ayurveda doctor, will be able to give a cure. And doctor, please, people suggest me to undergo oil massage. I don't mind to avail leave for about 2 weeks. Hope to get myself free from the disease and join duty immediately after that. This is only few examples. There are so many concerns which we need to face once we start our practicing. Why I am presenting this particular slide? Because as far as an Ayurveda doctor is concerned, any disease, we need to understand the disease in detail so that we'll be able to address the concern of the public. So our duty is not only in giving medicine. That's the difference between Ayurveda doctor and allopathic doctor, isn't it? Allopathy is where it is a dispensing medicine like, whereas Ayurveda, here we need to educate the person regarding what is his condition and what type of treatment we are going to do, what type of modification he needs to do, and how much time probably it will take, whether it will get cured, whether he has to take medicines for a prolonged time. See, all these are concerns, and these concerns are very what you call major as far as Vata Vyadis are concerned, isn't it? And before going to the disease proper, we need to understand the disease before going to the treatment, isn't it? This shloka, I think everybody is familiar with. Rogamado parisheta tato nantaram aushadam tatha karma bishak paschat jnana purvam samacharet. So everyone will be eager to know the treatment and yogas, but my concern is that if the condition is diagnosed well, the half of our responsibility is over. In the sense, proper diagnosis is the first step in the treatment of any disease. So let us understand the disease Vata Vyadhi briefly. You know that we cannot discuss each and everything in this particular webinar. Whatever important points, let me try to share with you. Vata significance, we all know. Vayus Tantra Yantradarha, the same shloka I have put with the meanings here. We know that whenever we talk about Vata Vyadhi, the first idea comes to our mind is some of the major diseases like Sandhigata Vata or Pakshagata, Ardita. But we should not forget that the Vata is responsible for each and every minute karma everywhere in the body. Only when it gets Vikrita, and depending upon its sthana samshaya, some of the dhatus or some of the sthanas are affected. But Prakrita Vata is responsible for each and every function of the body, whether it is at the mano level or whether it is at the indriyas, whether it is the ashayas, dhatus, rasarakta samvahana, malakshepana. Everything is possible with the help of Prakrita Vata, and definitely because of this, whenever Vata becomes Vikrita, all these functions are disturbed. Yeah, let us imagine that we are going to the hospital for examination and examination in Rogi Pariksha, and for diagnosing the Vyadis, and then to chart out a treatment protocol. And there are innumerable, though we know that there are 80 Vata Vyadis, Nanatmaja Vatavyadis described by Acharyas are different. It is not uniform. So altogether, it seems there are about 222 Vatavyadis, not 80 alone. Though while telling 80 Vadis also, Acharyas have told that Uktascha Anuptascha. I have mentioned few, and there are many more which I have not mentioned. Apadisankeyani, they are innumerable. So our tendency, or we will be always enthusiastic to coin a name to the condition as soon as we see the patient. It is good because the first impression what we get, that also matters, but we should not confirm that. We should not finalize just by seeing a patient. Hello, am I audible? Anushri, Dr. Anushri?
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
you are
madam.
audible.
Okay. In between any problem, you have to inform me. Okay.
Yeah, madam. Of course.
Okay. So,
Please continue.
out of our enthusiasm and our eagerness to coin in a term or coin a diagnosis, we tell that, okay, this patient is suffering from Kateshula, this patient must be having Bahushula, or this patient may be having Krishtashula, this patient is handicapped, maybe he is having Pakshagata, or he's not in a position to walk. And there are certain more conditions. Some are bedridden, some are able to walk with support. There are so many conditions. So whatever impression comes to our mind, it is well and good. Keep it aside. That need not be that final diagnosis. Because as far as Ayurveda is concerned, the first impression you get, it cannot be termed as diagnosis. It is only impression which may prompt you to ask particular questions also. But the diagnosis only based upon the Nidana Panchakas, both Rogi Pariksha, Roga Pariksha, both are very essential. Then only we can come to the diagnosis. So let us imagine that we are seeing a patient and we will start our Rogi Pariksha, Roga Pariksha, Darshana, Sparshana, Prashna, or Dashavida Pariksha, and Roga Pariksha, we know that Nidana, Pururupa, all these matter. This particular side, I want you to take note of. Whenever we take Nidana, or whenever we take history or collect various data, we should remember that people are not familiar with Ayurveda. Most of the people, a few people will be aware of Ayurveda. In spite of their awareness about Ayurveda, they do not know that how they have to present their problem. So it is our duty to go into the details of the patient. We cannot expect that patient to tell that I am eating Lagu Ahara, I am eating Katupradhana Ahara, or I am doing Vegadharana. If you are expecting that patient will not reveal everything, and our collection of data will be incomplete. So we have the Shastra Jnana. Based upon that, we know what are the things that is a matter of concern. But patient doesn't know that what is the real problem, and he will tell, or he will give only those nidanas which he feels it is very important. What Mityahara Vihara he is doing for last 5 years or 10 years, he doesn't know that he has to tell. So he will not reveal. But he will tell that yesterday I have fallen down. I fell down while traveling, or I fell down in the bathroom. So whatever they feel very important, that they will report. But as an Ayurveda doctor, it is our responsibility to go into the minute details so that our collection of data will be complete. So here are the common Vatavyadi Nidana categorized under Aharaja, Viharaja, Manasika, Agantuja, others. You are familiar with that. And one point I have highlighted, emaciation due to diseases, because the person may be suffering due to some other diseases because of that. That is Roga Karshana. He will be emaciated, or the person may be Krisha due to other disease which he is suffering for a prolonged time. That also should be considered. And importantly, let us take note of nidanas for prakopa of other doshas too. I mean, so when we get an impression that this particular patient must be suffering with Vata Vyadhi, let us not focus on the nidanas for Vata Prakopa alone, because we are not giving treatment for the roga alone. We are giving treatment for the rogi also, isn't it? So we need to understand the person as a whole. So we need to take nidhanas for the probable nidhanas. So what? Because while collecting data, we will know nidhanas for which are responsible for prakopa of other doshas too. Let us not limit the probing or investigating only to the nidhanas which will aggravate vata alone. Okay, like atisevana of dairy products, pishtahara, and not doing activities. Maybe this person is having kapha prakopa also in the body, or atisevana of lavanamla for a prolonged duration, maybe causing rakta dushti also in the body. So these nidhanas also should be taken note of. And another important thing to remember that whenever we ask the patient and whenever we ask so many questions, patient will give the details of a very nearest future, like nearest time, that is just before or after getting the disease only he will tell. He will not give all the details which he is doing for last 10 years or 5 years. That also is important to note, because he might have changed some of his habits after getting a disease. But as far as nidhanas are concerned, nidhanas which he is exposed to for so many years, that also should be taken into account, because that might have made so many changes in the sara, rasasara, raktasara, mamsasara, and might have contributed to the dosha prakopa also. And this Panchavayu, Prakopa, Nidhan and Lakshanas, that also we should look into. The first slide I gave only the Nidhanas for Vata Prakopa. Here, typical Nidhanas for Panchavayu, Pranavayu Prakopa Nidhana, Udanavayu Prakopa Nidhana. These Nidhanas also we should be familiar with. Only when something is there in our mind, then only we will be able to ask. That which we are not familiar, we will not be able to ask. Okay, so let us be familiar with all these nidhanas which are responsible for vata prakopa in general, as well as vata prakopa of this panchavayu prakopa also. Then we should have a very good what we call shastra sampat with us always. So whenever we see a patient, as I told earlier, whatever we know, whatever we are already familiar, only those things we will be able to recognize. Otherwise, we will not be able to recognize. So all these lakshanas we should be familiar with, like vata vriddhi lakshanas, karmas of prakupita vata, lakshanas of pranavayu, vyanavayu, etc. Lakshanas of gata vata, lakshanas of avarana vata, and lakshanas of anubandha dosha also. Whether vata is alone or whether pitta is associated, all these lakshanas also we should be familiar with, and lakshanas of ashayapakrashana also. When these lakshana samuchaya we are familiar with, then it is very easy to come to a diagnosis. And gatavata lakshanas, very important, because these are the samprapti based upon which there will be various vyadhis. So vata, depending upon its various adhisthana, it will produce various lakshanas and vyadhis. The lakshanas are entirely different when it goes to amashaya. When it goes to sandhi, again lakshanas are different. When it goes to asti majja, lakshanas are different. See, that is why we are having such a wide range of treatment options and medicines. If it is only vata, then one medicine would have been sufficient, or 5 or 6 medicines for different gunas of vata. It is not like that. Sayeva dosha, the doshas, depending upon the hetu vishesha and depending upon the adhisthana antarani, it produces different vyadhis when it goes to different places. So once we understand these various sampraptis, then the disease diagnosis will be quite easier. Here I have highlighted one gatavata, that is sandhigatavata here, because sandhigatavata is the name of the condition also. It's very common. All of us know that we diagnose a condition sandhigatavata whenever a patient presents with sandhihanana, or a destruction of the joint, in terms of karmahani, or in terms of what you call sometimes shota, which resembles a vatapurna dhriti sparsha, and prasarana akunchanayoho pravastishta vedana. So these are the lakshana of sandhigata vata. Actually, I would like you to note that sandhigata vata is actually a samprapti. that is Prakopa of Vata in Sandhis. Prakopa of Vata in Sandhis can happen in many other joint disorders also. In case of Vata Rakta, there is also Prakopana of Vata in Sandhi. In case of Amavata, advanced Amavata, there is Prakopana of Vata in Sandhi. If there is a Abhighata condition, there also Prakopa of Vata in the Sandhi. So Sandhigata Vata is actually a Samprapti, but it has become a habit, or it is a Rudhanama like to diagnose a condition as Sandhigata Vata when there is Kevala Vata Prakopa in the Sandhis. There is no other factors involved, no Raktadushti, there is no Rasadushti, there is no other Anubandha Karanas. So it has become a habit, or it is a Rudhanama that the Sandhigata Vata, which is basically a Samprapti, has got the name of a Vyadhi also. So we don't have a chapter on Sandhigata Vata, isn't it? We have chapters on Vata Shonita. In Lagutrais, we have chapters on Amavata. Sandhigata Vata, no chapter, because Sandhigata Vata is basically Samprapti. So while describing various Sampraptis only, Acharya have mentioned the Sandhigata Vata. Gatavata Lakshanas, again, you can take note of. I need not explain it. Only my intention is to convey you that these Sampraptis are very important, because the same Astigata Vata can cause Sandhishula. The same Sandhigata Vata, Astigata Vata can cause Saktishula. So a patient presenting with the Sandhishula and another patient presenting with the Saktishula, when you analyze, the Astigata Vata may be the reason. Similarly, Majjagata Vata, the same Vata, when it goes to the Majja, it produces Mamsakshaya, Balakshaya, Santadruk. All these are the Lakshanas which are the result of Gata Vatas. Okay, so once we have taken the Nidana properly, we have taken the history in detail, we have observed the Lakshanas also, then we need to understand, or the probably what was the mode of Samprapti, how this has developed. So basically there are two Sampraptis, you are familiar with this, Dhatukshaya and Avarana. Avarana, there are two factors, one is Avaraka and Avrita. Two types of Avarana conditions we can see. In one, there is Avaraka is either dosha or dhatu and Avrita is vata. And the point B is, it is actually Anyonya Avarana, where one of the Panchavidha Vayu will become the Avaraka and the another one will become Avrita Vata. In general, the Avaraka factor, that Lakshanas will be usually little bit predominating, especially in the beginning stage. Avrita factor Lakshanas will be slightly minimized. But in due course, once the condition become chronic, then both Avrita Lakshanas as well as Avaraka Lakshanas both can be of equal intensity, and only by repeated observation of the patient only we will be able to tell which is Avaraka and which is Avrita. Okay. Now, let us take an example of one Vyadhi Katigraha here. I am showing here to Prapti. For analyzing these 5 type of patients, I will first, if I get a patient of Katishula or Katigraha, I will first rule out all the other conditions like Yoni Roga and some other conditions of like Ashmadi, etc. to before telling that this is a Vata Vyadhi, because there are so many other diseases which also can cause Katishula, and the patient may just present with the Katishula and tell that patient wants to get rid of his or her pain immediately. Many Yoni Rogas, like it may be Garbhashya Bramsha or some type of Rajodushti also can cause Katigraha. So all those conditions to be ruled out first. Later, here the patient number 1, the first column is Nidana, and in second it is probably Samprapti. I am giving only examples. The first patient might have reported Alpashana, Ativyayama for several years, and while analyzing the Samprapti, we can confirm that there is Vata Prakopa and there is Rasadi Dhatu Kshaya too. As a result, patient develops pain which is almost continuous irrespective of the movement, and it has caused asti majjagata vata in due course. Patient 2, here when we explore the nidanas, we see that patient has got nidanas for atisantarpana, there is mithya vyayama, and we analyze that there is vata prakopa, along with that there is mamsa dushti also. So in this patient, the katigraha is due to mamsagata vata. And the patient 3, the nidanas are like ati lagu ahara, ati ushna ahara, katu amla sevana, madhya sevana for so many years. There are both Sannikrishna nidana and Viprakrishna nidana. For so many years, there was Mityahara Vihara in this case, and there is a Sannikrishna nidana of Abhighata also. So we can conclude that here there is Vata Pitta Prakopa, which has happened due to Mityahara Vihara, which has led to Rakta Dushti and Astimajja Vikriti due to the Abhighata. And we can diagnose that this patient has got Katishola as a result of Mamsagata Vata, Sandhigata Vata, Astimajjagata Vata. And patient 4, when we collect the details, we see that this patient has got Vishamashana and Vegadharana predominantly, no much other causes, and you find that based upon the Lakshanas, there is mainly Apana Vaigunya. Raktadidhatu involvement is not evident here. So diagnose that this Katigraha is due to Pakvashaya Gatavata. Similarly, patient 5, fifth patient, he was exposed to Mityahara Vihara, and there is a previous history of Ashmari and Udarashula also. Here also, Apanavayu Vaigunya is what causing the Katishula, Katigraha as the Lakshana, and Gutagatavata can be the Samprati. So here, please understand that usually patient will ask the doctors, patient, I have got back pain, I have got neck pain, whether I can go oil massage, or how many days of treatment I will require. The other patient has taken these many medicines. Can I also take the same medicines? So here, what you call our main responsibility comes to advise the patient what actually is troubling him and how his treatment will differ from others' treatment. He cannot tell that I also need to take these treatments because the another patient suffering from back pain, you are giving these treatments. So depending upon the nidana, depending upon the samprapti and the lakshana which the patient is presenting, we need to finalize the diagnosis. As a broader way, we tell that all these are Vatavyadi. Yes, all these 5 patients are suffering from Vatavyadi. All these 5 patients are suffering from Katigraha. But there is difference. And later only we need to record the samprapti gatakas. Again, I have taken example only Katigraha. We have to mention which is the dosha involved. We have to mention whether there is any anubandha dosha involvement like kapha or pitta. Then we have to mention the avastha, samavastha or niramavastha, because again that also what you call influences our selection of the treatment. When we have to find the agni, whether it is in the manda or whether it is in the samavastha, and we have to find out which are the dhatus involved. We had to find out the srotas involved, and roga marga. Mostly it will be madhyama roga marga. Sometimes this Katigraha patient may have some other vyadis of abhyantara roga marga. This patient may have another diseases of madhyama roga marga same, like he may have prameha, he may have some other vyadis. So all these things are important to understand and record, because that is how you will plan the treatment protocol. And don't get afraid by seeing this big shloka. This I am showing many times, or some of the times it may not be possible as to coin a correct name for the condition. It is especially very common nowadays because some of the patients who, as soon as they develop a problem, they will go to allopathic doctor, they will start taking the medicines whatever possible, and as a result the lakshanas which they are presenting there will be a lot of variations. Dr. Anushri, am I audible? Dr. Anushri? Hello, everything is okay?
Yes, madam, everything is
Ma'am,
okay.
you are audible.
Okay. No, in between I will check. That's all. Okay.
I'm not audible, ma'am.
Okay. See, we cannot expect that the patient to be a representative of our samhitas, representative of the textbook. Whatever lakshanas we have seen in the textbook, the patient should present with all those lakshanas. It is not possible. It will happen only in some instances, especially those patients who are already under medication, different, whether it is homeopathy or allopathy. By the time they come to Ayurveda doctor, there will be quite a lot of a change in the roga swabhava. So lakshanas are also will be different. So many times we will be in dilemma whether this is a disease, whether it's a Griva Shula, Kati Shula, patient doesn't present with all the lakshanas. So acharyas have solved that problem by telling that we need to find out the Atma Rupas of Vayu, like Rauksha, Shaitya, Laghava, Vaishadya, all those things. And we have also should note down which all are the Prakopa karmas like Samsa, Brahmsha, Vyasa, Sangha, all these. And by seeing this, whether you will be able to coin a term or not, it is different. But this is Vata Vikara. Tairanvitam Vata Vikarameva Adhyavaset. If we have find out these are the nidanas like atiruksha, atishita, these are the nidanas, and if we have found that patient is presenting with balakshaya or there is sramsa or there is supti, then it should not be a difficulty for us to tell that this patient is suffering from vata vyadi. So we should not get afraid, or we should not feel ashamed if we are not able to give an exact name for the condition. Okay, now even in the text, because we are referring many texts, there are some areas where we can get into some dilemma. So I'm giving one or two examples to what I call to share my idea. See, this is these are the some of the terms like Griva Stamba, Griva Graha, etc. Stamba Graha, there is no much difference. Graha is the what I call intensity, another severity of Stamba. Stamba is what I call loss of movement. When that loss of movement is maximum, that is Graha. It is a little meaning. In practical, usually we see that both Graha and Stamba are used as synonyms. Okay, so Griva Stamba has been mentioned under Nanatmaja Vyadhi. Meanwhile, I should have mentioned in the beginning, Vata Vyadhi, everybody knows asadharano vyadihi vata vyadhi. That is, nanatmaja vata vyadhis are actually meant by the term vata vyadhi. Both Ashtanga Hridaya and Charakacharyas, they have described mainly the nanatmaja vata vyadhi, because whenever we tell vata vyadhi, it is mainly nanatmaja vata vyadhi. Okay, so Griva Stamba has been mentioned as one of the nanatmaja vata vyadhi. We also get to see the terms Griva, Graha, Griva, Shula. So when Vata Prakopa is intense, it can cause stamba or reduced movement of the Griva. That can be called either Griva Graha or Griva Stamba. Griva Shula is only Shula in the Griva region. But if there is reduced movement, definitely the term Griva Graha can be used. And Manya Stamba. The word Manya Stamba conveys three types of meaning. One is Kafavrita Vata Vyadhi as described by Acharya Sushruta. There are nidanas like Vishamadhopadana, Urdhva Nirikshana, etc. There is Kafavrita Vata will produce Stambha in the Manya region. Again, the terms Manya and Griva. Griva is neck as a whole, and Manya is Griva Paschima Bhagaha. Griva Paschima Bhaga is one part of the Griva, but practically Manya Stamba and Griva Stamba words, both these conditions are being used synonymously. And Nanatmaja, under Nanatmaja Vatavyadi also Manya Stamba has been mentioned. And remember, Manya Stamba is a synonym for Antarayama. While explaining Antarayama Bahirayama, Manya Stamba is another synonym for Antarayama. So I personally insist or believe that we can use Manya Stamba only whenever there is Kafavrita Vata Vyadhi. But whenever there is Kevala Vata Prakopa, it is better to use the terms Griva Stamba or Griva Graha. And when there is no reduction in the movement and there is only Shula in the Griva region, we may use the term Griva Shula alone. Pakshagata, other condition where different opinions have been expressed by acharyas. They are not contradicting, but they are highlighting some of the concepts. Okay, so Pakshagata as a disease, special Vishesha Nidhanas have not been mentioned. Samanya Vatavedi Nidhana and Samprapti, Prakrita Vata, it will take sthana samshraya in the Ardha Sharira, Grihitva Ardham Sharira, Ardha Sharira, and as a result, what happens during the Samprapti is there will be Vishoshana of the Siddhasnayum, and then there will be Vimokshana of the Sandhibandha. Sandhibandha, all associations like Kapasafita Snayubihi Krita Bandhanam, that Bandhanam will be loosened. That's the meaning of Vimokshana. And as a result, what happens? What it does to the body? Anyataram paksham hanti. Anyataram is vamam va, dakshinam va. Any one of the paksha will be hanti, means destroyed. Destroyed means here karma hani. Hanti is actually, the meaning is cheshta hani. And this condition is called as pakshaghata because there is akarmanyata and vichetanata in one of the paksha. Paksha is always either Vama or Dakshina. Bahu Kaksha, Parshabhagam is the Paksham. Okay, so here different opinions of Acharyas I am showing here. In Ashtanga Hridaya, as I already mentioned in the previous slide, there is Siddhasnayu Vishoshana in Ardha Sharira and Sandhibandha Vimokshana in the Anyatara Paksha. And he coins the term Pakshavada and he gives the synonym Ekanga Roga. And next he tells that if a patient presents with Akarmanyata and Vichetata in the Sarva Sharira, and that condition can be called as Sarvanga Roga. And Charakacharya gives, Charakacharya gives details of 3 conditions in one shloka itself. That when there is hanana or destruction of Dakshina Bhaga or Vama Bhaga, the person will develop Cheshta Nivritti, Ruja and Vakstamba, and that condition is called as Pakshavada. And second condition he mentions is Ekanga Roga, where he tells that this Prakupita Vata in the Ardha Sharira that causes Sankochana of the Pada Hasta, causing Toda Shula, and this condition is Ekanga Roga. And similar lakshanas like Sankocha, Toda, Shula, when it happens in the Sarva Sharira, it is Sarvanga Roga. I'm not, that is Sushrutas also I have shown, I am not able to see. Sushruta Acharya also gives the term Pakshavadha. He tells that the Prakupita Vata will affect either Vama Bhaga or Dakshina Bhaga. So my concern is that what is important is to understand that there is Vata Prakopa and there is this type of Sampraptis happening in one part of the body and the person is developing Akarmanyata and Vichinata. When this type of Karma Hani happens all over the body, it is Sarvanga Roga. When it happens in only one Paksha, Vama or Dakshina, it is Pakshagata. When it affects only one limb, either one hasta or one pada, it is Ekanga Roga. That's what monoplegia we can consider about. Okay, so what acharyas give different opinions. There is no contraindication, but there is no contradiction. Sorry, but they only present their views in a different manner. That's all. Okay, Ardhita is another condition where again there is different opinion. Major changes are seen in this particular condition. Acharya Sushruta tells that when Vata Prakopa happens in the Shiras, Nasa, Oshta, Chibuka, all this Jatrurdhva Bhaga, and it causes Vakrikaran of Mukharda and Vakshang, it is Urdhvanga, then that condition is called as Ardhita. So Acharya Sushruta gives the description of Ardhita, which is only Mukardha Vyapi. Ardhita, where there is Vakrikaran of the Mukha and some other lakshanas, and the involved or the Sthana Samshraya is the Mukha area, the two Ardha Bhaga of the Mukha. Sharakacharya gives a different picture under the term Ardhita. There he gives the Samprapti like Vayu Prakopa in the Ardha Sharira, and there is Upashoshana of Asraga. That is the Samprapti he gives. There is Raktavahi Sira involvement he mentions indirectly. As a result, person develops Vakrikaran of Mukardha, Sankochan of Pada, Janu, Hasa, and there is Ruja in these areas also. And here he gives a picture of Ardita, which can be either Mukardha Vyapi or Sharirardha Vyapi, including Mukha. That is, patient may have Ardita, which is Mukardha Vyapi, or those patients who are presenting with Karmahani in the Ardha Sharira along with Ardita Lakshanas, that also has been considered as Ardita by Charakacharya. And there is, he gives another dimension to this Ardita by telling that it is episodic. It is episodic, he tells, because that is how he distincts the condition Ardita and Pakshaghata. Because in Pakshaghata and Ekanga Roga also he tells that Sharirardha is involved. Then what's the difference between Ardita and Ekanga Roga or Pakshaghata? When in both the conditions Ardha Sharira is involved, that was the question. Then Acharya tells that Ardito Vegitaya na sarvakalam bhavati. It is episodic. It occurs sometimes. It disappears sometimes. Whereas Pakshaghata or Ekanga Roga, once it manifests, it is not Vegavan. It is there always. Clear? And in Ashtanga Hridaya, Acharya Vagbhata, he also gives almost similar to that of Charaka Samhita. There is Vakrikaran of Mukardha, and there is Vaksanga is there, and Ardhabhaga is involved. Jatrordham Ruja Tivra Sharira Ardhe Adhare Piva. Ardha Sharira may be involved, and sometimes even Adha Sharira, Adhakaya fully also may be involved. So, according to Acharya Vagbhata, Ardita can be Mukardha Vyapi, or it can be Mukardha plus Sharira Ardha Vyapi, or sometimes it can involve the Adha Sharira also. Can we see all these three types of Ardita in our day-to-day practice? Two types of Arditas, they are very common. One is Ardita as per Sushruta's description, that is Mukardha Vyapi. And also we do get patients having Pakshaghata and Ardita as described by Charakacharya and Vagbhatacharya. But as it is a practice to diagnose these condition as Pakshaghata with Ardita, because not to confuse with the terms of Ardita and Pakshaghata. Practically, it is more convenient to mention whenever patient presents with Mukardha Vyapi and Sharirardha Vyapi, we can diagnose the condition as Pakshaghata with Ardita. And Ardita is that condition where Mukardha alone is involved as described by Sushrutacharya. In short, I will tell a little bit regarding the how we can compare this with modern also, because whenever a patient presents with the facial palsy, there are two types of facial palsy. One is because every cranial nerves, they have got two connections. One is supranuclear and another is infranuclear. And supranuclear connections, they do get the what do you call connections or the instructions from the higher centers, whereas infranuclear lesions, they're independent, almost independent of the upper higher centers. So whenever facial palsy occurs due to an infranuclear lesion, there the patient presents with Ardita alone as described by Acharya Sushruta. This condition may be compared to the Bell's palsy, and it will be usually lower motor neuron type of facial palsy involving complete half of the face. When upper nuclear lesion of facial palsy occurs, it will be usually due to the factors responsible for the stroke. There it will be upper nuclear lesion type of facial palsy occurs, and usually this patient will have stroke with the facial palsy, and facial palsy will be mostly only one half of the face, that is only quarter part of the face, because there will be what you call bilateral nuclear nerve supply is there. That's why only one portion is involved in the upper motor neuron type of facial palsy. So my intention is to tell that Acharyas had different ways or different ideas to convey, all are very practical and relevant. That is my idea. And only thing is we need to understand the lakshanas in detail and analyze the samprapti in detail. Okay. Now, and important point whenever we finish our all this process of diagnosis, while collecting nidana or while examining the patient or while analyzing the samprapti, let us remember that to record each and every findings of general and systemic examinations. This is very important in any vyadi, but it's more so important in the vata vyadis, because if the patient has got a very chronic vyadi and if his condition is kritra sadhya or yapya, it is important find out or record the improvement that he has developed or he has got due to our treatment. And this is possible when we record all our findings in a systematic manner, both at the time of examining the patient as well as during the course of treatment and after finishing the treatment. The improvement may be subjective, improvement may be objective, and when a patient, for example, Pakshagata patient who is suffering with Pakshagata for last 5 years, his difficulty, his main what you call presentation is difficulty to use the left side of the body. And when he comes and gets into our hospital, his main complaint is difficulty to use the left upper limb and lower limb, or difficulty to walk without support. And we have diagnosed properly, we have planned the treatment properly, and we have given the treatment with utmost care and for utmost satisfaction, and we could get the improvement, like his movement of the left hand has improved. Earlier he needed support and now he can walk on his own, though with a little difficulty. All these are the improvements. But if you don't record each and every finding of your systemic examination, if you depend upon only that lakshana, that's a difficulty to use the left hand, difficulty to use the left hand at the time of admission. What is the condition now at the time of getting discharged? Now also he has got difficulty to use the left side of the body. Then what is the change that has been brought about by our treatment? That change we need to record very appropriately, properly, and that is possible if we take note of each and every finding of our systemic examination. How much movement, up to what degree movement, what was the strength at the time of admission, what is the strength now getting discharged. All these are important apart from our Dashavidha Pariksha also. And point number 2, consider lakshanas that cannot be elicited during examination also. I will give an example. If the patient tells that I have got pain in my knee joints and my ankle joints, and if your first impression is Sandhigata Vata, and while examining you find that you examine flexion and extension, and you find that both flexion and extension are absolutely normal. There is no prasarana akunchanayoho pravrittischa vedana. Can we tell that he doesn't have Sandhigata Vata because you didn't elicit a difficulty in the prasarana and akunchana? He may have that difficulty while walking. He may have that difficulty while climbing the stairs, isn't it? So give due importance for the subjective lakshanas, objective lakshanas, lakshanas which are presented by the patient, though we are not able to elicit during our this course of examination of 1 hour. We should not ignore all those things. Okay. And analyzing the details collected and examination findings. Once we collect all these lakshanas, then a detailed analysis is required. Some needs to be give more weightage, some needs to give moderate or less weightage. All these are possible by yukti. When you do these things repeatedly by Shastra Jnana and by experience, it is possible to make a proper analysis and come to the diagnosis. And regarding modern investigations, use it only whenever very appropriate and whenever they are very relevant. If you have 10 patients having disc prolapse, every patient will have something in addition. They are not unique. What is important is that how this disc prolapse has influenced, or how it has affected this patient. Whether this patient with the disc prolapse has got Koshtagata Vayu Prakopa, whether this patient with the disc prolapse has got Rasakshaya or Raktakshaya in the body. See, there are a lot of permutations and combinations. Never we should plan a treatment for disc prolapse based upon the investigations. We may use modern investigations only for what we call confirming how much Dhatukshaya has happened, and to convince the patient also. And after all these exercise, we need to understand the Sadhya Sadhyata. As far as Vata Vyadhi is concerned, that's why it is one of the Ashtaga Mahagada also. Only those patients who have developed the disease very recently, Nava, and patients who have got very good Deha Bala and Sattva Bala, and without Upadrava, they are Sadhya. Acharya tells. The usual, nature of the Vata Vyadhi is Krichra Sadhya. It may become yapya, it may become asadhya. Especially few conditions, Acharya tell that these conditions are usually kritra sadhya yatnena siddhyante. Yatnena siddhyante. With great effort, if there are no upadravas, we may able to give a good cure to these conditions. Am I audible? Hello? Everything is okay?
Yes,
Hello? Okay.
Madam, yes, madam.
Okay. Yeah. Now let us move on to the Chikitsas. Before going to the Chikitsa Sutra of Vata Vyadhi proper, please note this shloka and the meaning. Shloka, okay. Here, there was a discussion, isn't it, with Atreya and Shishyas, like Vata doesn't have Murtatva, Vata doesn't have the quantity. How these gunas will, come in contact with Vata? See, gunas, ruksha, lagu. I am not telling, Acharya is telling, and which we understood by our experience. The gunas like lagu, ruksha, shita, etc., they create an environment inside the body where vata becomes, or all that environment becomes suitable for vata prakopa. So while choosing the treatment, we have to provide the viruddha gunas like snigdha, guru, ushna, shlakshna, mrudu, and to create an atmosphere inside the body which will bring about the shamana of the vata. Chikitsa sutras, everybody is familiar. Vatasya upakramaha, sneha, sweda, mrudu samshodhana, and quite a lot of Chikitsa sutras have been mentioned by all acharyas. The one which I mentioned in the black, it is in addition. The above in the violet color, almost all acharyas have it is mainly from the Ashtanga Hridaya, and the black one is from Charaka Samhita, in addition to what Acharya Vagbhata has mentioned. Note that matram kalam cha pramanikritya. It is not that all these treatments can be given in every avastha of Vata Vyadhi. We have to consider the matra, how much dosha is vitiated, and what is the anubandha dosha, and kalam. Depending upon that only these various chikitsas can be employed. And the last 2 points are from the Sushruta Samhita, where he mentions about Sneha Virechana, Shirovasti, Shiroseka, everything he mentions. And he also mentions a little regarding the Vihara also, like Mridvishaya, Agni Santapa, etc. Okay, now let us see how these various treatments can be used in practice. What are the factors to be considered? The first one is dosha. Dosha, we need to see whether there is a kafanubandha or pittanubandha. Okay, there is no kafanubandha, pittanubandha, it is only vata. Then comes the next question, whether it is avarta vata or whether it is kevala vata. Then comes avastha. As I told earlier, we need to see it can be samavata avastha or it can be nirama vata avastha. Then let us see how this patient has developed this vata vyadhi. What were the nidanas? Whether there was increase in the lagu guna, whether there was increase in the exposure to shita. So various nidanas, how it has given rise to all these changes in the body. Then sthana, which sthana is involved? I mentioned about gatavatas earlier, ashaya gatavata and various dhatu gatavatas, whether it is vata prakopa has happened in the amashaya, whether it is in the siras, nayo, all these things to be considered. And then we need to consider whether the patient is eligible for Snehana or not, because Sneha as such is the Shrestha Aushadha for Vata. We know the reasons, because by virtue of its various gunas, it so happens that all the gunas are almost exactly opposite to that of Vata. So it is the best treatment, both in the Abhyantara Sneha form and Bahya Sneha form. But in spite of its what you call such beneficial activity, Snehana needs to be avoided when there is Samavata Avastha, and when there is Samsushta Vata, Vata with Kapha, etc., and when there is Avarana Vata. Snehana cannot be done when these avasthas are there. And what is then strategy there? Depending upon the doshavastha or samavastha, we need to go for deepana, pachana. If there is kapha adhikyata or kapha association, rukshana has to be given. Then kapha pitta shamana treatments have to be taken upon. Then vatanulomana treatment has to be done. And if it is avarana, avarana chikitsa has to be considered, because if there is very very evident raktavrita vata, rakta should be treated first and then avata. If there is a very evident kaphavrita vata, kapha should be treated first and only then vata should be treated. So these things also should be considered, and then we come to the kevala vata chikitsa. When the patient is ready for the body is ready for accepting sneha, only then we can plan about the sneha pana. Kevalam nirupastamba madau. We know all these shlokas. Sneha pana, either in the form of achapana or vicharana, we can start the sneha pana, grita, taila, vasa, majja, whatever is suitable to the patient and the roga, both roga and rogi. And considering the Agni and Koshta, we have to plan the Achapana. If the patient cannot take Achapana, we can plan Vicharana, various type of Vicharana Snehapana also. And that will be followed by Bahya Sneha Prayoga and Sweda Prayoga. Remember, whenever we tell Sweda for a Vata Vyadhi, it should be always Snigdha Sweda. First, we have to go for Abhyanga, and it will be followed by Swedas. That too, Snigdha Swedas are preferable because it is a Kevala Vata condition. Snigdha Sweda like Kaya Seka or Patrapotala Sweda. These Swedas have to be employed whenever there is a Kevala Vata Prakopa. And this will be followed by Mrudushodhana. Mrudushodhana, there are two purposes. One is to do the Vatanulomana, because we need to ensure that there is no Vata Vaigunya, and in order to bring Vata in the normal course, Vatanulomana, we need to do the Mrudushodhana. There is another purpose for doing Mrudushodhana during the course of Kevala Vata Chikitsa, that is to remove the Kaphanubandha or Pittanubandha. That can be sometimes, though we have understood that in the first diagnosis was Kevala Vata, we might have ignored some of the Pitta associated lakshanas or Kapha lakshanas, but during the course of treatment, we find that this repeated Sneha and Sweda, patient is not responding as per my expectation. Examine again. See, Rogi Pariksha should not finish by the time we start the treatment. Rogi Pariksha is a continuous process. It is before diagnosing, it is while starting the treatment, and every day. If it is IP patient, every day we need to do the Rogi Pariksha in order to see how patient is responding. So if we find that there are some what I call Kapha Dushti Lakshanas or Pitta Dushti Lakshanas along with Vata, there is the it is the stage of giving a Mrudu Shodhana. And whenever we say, whether it is a Kevala Vata in the first instance, or whether it is an Anubandha Vata, if there is Anubandha Vata is first instance, all Anubandha Vatas, Shodhana is very, very important. And those patients who are not eligible for Virechana, Vasti is the method, Niruha Vasti is the method for the removal of these malas which have got accumulated during the course of treatment. So once these margas are clear or ashaya is clear, then because it is Kevala Vata, Snehana and Swedana has to be repeated. The first concern when the patient asked, isn't it? How many days I need to take the treatment? If it is a chronic Vyadhi, patient needs to take the treatment repeatedly for few months or sometimes 1 year also. I hope you remember what Acharya Sushruta mentions while describing the treatment of Pakshagata. Evam atandritaha trin chatur masan. Atandritaha means without feeling any what you call disappointment or laziness, both from what you call physician point of view and rogi point of view. Kriyapatam upasevata. 3 masanva, that is 3 or 4 months continuously the patient may have to receive the treatment. Of course, you need to see whether the patient has got necessary bala, manobala, sharira bala, agni, koshta, because in between due to some what I call we cannot expect that patient is 100% obedient. He may have again taken some mithyaharas during the course of treatment. His agni might have become manda. So we need to examine in between. And if you feel that his disease needs snehana svedana, but because there is agni mandya, now you have to give a gap. Now you have to go again for Deepana Parchana, and once you are ensured that his Agni is functioning again normally, then again start the Snehana Svedana. So please remember, though repeated Snehana Svedana are needed for a Kevala Vata Rogi, in between we have to ensure that his Agni Bala, Sharira Bala are appropriate and they are received in a good, what you call, receiving condition. And of course, we need to plan proper Patya Ahara Vihara along with all this treatment. Am I audible? Everything is okay, Dr. Anushri? Hello?
Yes, ma'am,
Hello?
you are audible. You are
Okay.
audible, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the second factor. Now in the 2 slides we have considered the different avasthas, and now we have considered where snehana should not be done. Then we have considered how we can go about when there is kevala vata. Now, let us also try to choose very specific gunas also whenever possible. Particularly, it is not very easy practically because guna samuchaya will be there. Guna samuchay will be there, and some of our what you call combinations, you will have dravyas having various combinations, but whenever possible try to find out the gunas and which guna has caused this particular vyadi and which lakshanas are being seen and which viruddha guna we can provide to the body. If we feel that this stamba in the body, this patient is complaining of stamba, it can be sandhi or shoulder, wherever there is more of stamba, and it is mostly due to what I call atishita prayoga. Either he is using AC continuously or always taking refrigerated drinks. If shita guna is vriddhi is seen, then go for those dravyas or those treatments which can impart more of ushnata to the body. Dhanadanayana Kasha is one example. Svedana, different types of Svedana will be very appropriate to this patient. And Lashuna is another example which will provide Ushnata, Tikshnata to the body. And whenever we see more of Rukshata, Kara, Daruna, Daruna is Katina, Karatva's next stage probably. And it is not always very evident when we see that by Darshana itself. Twacha Rukshana, of course, we can understand. And whenever there are asti majjagata vata, there are vikritis, by seeing the what we call level of movement or level of stiffness, we can, by anumana, we can understand that so much of karatva is there inside the sandhis. So much of katinata or so much of hardness is there inside the sandhis. We can understand it by anumana, by seeing their various movements or how they are working. So here, more of snigdhata is required, more of pichila guna is required. So tailas like Dhanvantara taila, Mahasneha, where is this combination of Chatursneha, Sarpis taila, Vasamajja, and Grita like Gugurutittaka Grita, which is very particular whenever there is Sandhi Sandhi Asti Majjagata Vata Prakopa. And I have put a Kashaya in bracket. See, when patient has arrived in these type of what you call lakshanas, like there is lot of rukshata, whatever may be the ashaya, whatever may be the sthana, it may be sarvanga rukshata, or it may be, as I told earlier, only confined to the sandhis or siras nayus, thickening of the arteries, wherever it may be. There Kashayas are not very ideal. That's why I have put it in the bracket. Kashayas are basically will produce rukshata. That of course there is taratama. That's why Vidharyadi Kashaya is little bit snigdha compared to Dhanadhanayinadi or Ashtavarga Kashaya. Kashaya as such is not the first priority. Whenever patient presents with a lot of rukshadi gunas, or whenever he presents with a lot of lagutva in the body, there the very ideal what you call kalpana is sneha only. That too sneha with having more of what you call pichila guna, guru guna. Of course, we need to ensure that this patient's agni is good. He can accept whatever snigdha dravyas we provide. If this patient cannot digest the thailas or grutas that you are providing, there is no other way. We have to go for other kalpanas like churna, tablet or kashaya. There we need to choose those kashayas which are having better snigdha gunas. Similarly, whenever there is lagu guna is more in the body, then grita prayogas are also very ideal, like Vidharya Grita, more of Mamsarasa prayoga and regular matravasti. Because if the patient cannot take gritas or tailas for a continuous time, vastis are another very ideal way of imparting snigdhata to the body. So matravasti is a very good option in such cases. Okay. Let me give example of only one vyadi, because we have seen all the sutras and various factors to be considered whenever we get vata vyadi patient. Now one example, because practically how we will go about whenever we get different vata vyadis, and here it is one example of pakshaghata. Dr. Anushri, I think I can take another 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. See, Pakshagata Chikitsa Sutra is Nehanam Sweda Sanyuktam Pakshagata Virechanam, little bit difference in Acharya Charaka and Acharya Vagbhata. Let us not go into depth why Virechana. It is a it's a different question altogether, which doesn't affect our practice also much. Also, I would like you to remember the Chikitsa Sutra given by Acharya Sushruta. Acharya Sushruta Tatra Prageva स्नेहस्वेदोपमन्पन्नं मृदुना शोधनेन samshodhya astapana anuvasana. So he gives all those treatments and he tells that all these are important, and murni taila prayoga is very important. Okay, so we know all these chikitsa sutras. Now, are we going to do virechana as soon as a patient of pakshagata approaches us? I would like you to remember, for those who are in the final year students, doctors, you are already aware of that. In Vata Vyadi, or for that matter any Vyadi, the usual method of Acharyas is that once they describe the Chikitsa Sutras, and that will not be repeated while mentioning the individual Chikitsa. That is, Vata Vyadi Chikitsa Sutras Acharya described in the beginning, and they have given all the what you call permutations, combinations, yuktis, everything has been described either in the Chikitsa Sthana or in other Sutra Sthanas. So while describing the individual Vata Vyadi like Gridrasya, Ardita, Pakshagata, Acharyas have given only those Chikitsa which are to be done specifically apart from the usual Vata Vyadi Chikitsa. So usual Vata Vyadi Chikitsa is applicable in all the Vata Vyadi. In addition to that, this specific Chikitsa has to be done. Okay, so Pakshagata patients do approach us in different what you call avasthas. So this one in what you call instance is that patient may be semi-conscious. Patient might have got discharged from a modern hospital, and straight away they have brought the patient to an Ayurveda hospital. He may be in the semi-conscious stage. Sometimes or most of the times he will be catheterized, and sometimes this patient will have bed sores also. So all these situation should prompt us to postpone our Vata Vyadi Chikitsa. Sneha Prayoga, Sweda Prayoga, nothing can be done in these situations. Here, if at all possible, you can try to give medicines along with little ahara. If he is in a condition to what you call take oral food, then only you can give the medicines also. So anulomana aushadas can be given because patient may not be in a position to express freely whether he is hungry or not. So we need to understand by what you call observing him closely. If possible, try to give Anulomana Aushadha. And talam is application of little balya oil with churnas like rasnadi churna or kachuradi churna. Here I have given an example, Kshirabala Taila with little bit of kachuradi churna. This is the purpose to what you call mainly to strengthen the what you call indriya adhisthana. And mrudu samvahana, no abhyanga, no mardana, mrudu samvahana. Then Pichu over lower abdomen with Dhanvantar Taila, one example, because this will be helpful to restore the bladder action. Then if he has got bed sores, definitely concentrate on Vrana Chikitsa also, because unless the Vranas are healed, the Chikitsa like Sneha Svedas cannot be started. Then also give the bladder training to the patient. If the patient is cooperative, give bladder training. And if what you call the patient has developed Pakshagata newly, it's probably most of the cases you can restore the bladder function if everything goes on well. So this is one situation. Only then correcting all these things we can think about going for Vatavadi Chikitsa and Pakshagata Chikitsa in particular. So this is second avasthas or second example where this our Pakshagata patient has got Kapha association as well, or he may be having a Avritavata. It may be Kapha Avritavata or Mamsa Avritavata, Meda Avritavata. Again here we know that we cannot go with the Sneha Prayoga initially. So we have to wait until this Kapha comes down or until Rukshata is produced in the body to a certain extent. Brahmyastu Brudurukshayet. We should not get afraid. He say Vatavyadi, there is already Rukshata in the Sirasnayu. How we can give Rukshana? No problem, because without removing the what you call Kapha or other Mamsa Meda, we cannot touch this Vata. So go for Rukshana treatment in the beginning. Here the choice is like Dhanadhanayana Kashaya or Rasonadi Kashaya, Ashtavardha Kashaya, Lashuna Swarasa Prayoga, Lashuna Prayoga with Tila Taila. All these are choices. Then let us go for Udvartana with Kola Kulatadi Churnam or Kottam Chukkadi Churnam for a course of say 7 days, followed with the Ruksha Sveda like Churna Pinda Sveda, etc. And Virechana with Gandharvastadi Eranda. And we let us not forget that here Indriya Adhisthana is involved. So all type of Murnitaila Prayogas needed, Marshanasya is needed. And while giving Marshanasya, it may not be possible if the patient is not very cooperative. That is this, if he is semi-conscious or if the patient is not a condition to understand our instructions, Marshanasya may be avoided, go for only Pratimarshanasya. And if patient has got Ardhita along with Pakshagata, then Ardhita Chikitsa like Kshira Dhuma, Jihva Pratisarana are also very much essential. Kshira Dhuma is what we call Dhuma produced by boiling the Balamula Kashaya with Kshira, which will be made to pass over the Mukha and Jihva after applying the oil. It is one of the method usually practiced in Kerala. Jihva Pratisarana example like Lehya, Kalyana Kavalehya Churna can be used for the purpose of Jihva Pratisarana. And only when you are assured that there is no Kapha Dushti now, then we can go away with the go ahead with the Kevala Vata Chikitsa. So this is the third example wherein either we get a Kevala Vata Chikitsa directly, or we have given all those treatment for the Kaphanubandha and then going on to the Kevala Vata Chikitsa stage. And here the better choice are Bhadradarvadi Kashaya, Maharasnadi Kashaya. And here also for Vata Lashuna is good. Instead of Lashuna Swarasa Vidhatila Taila, we may go for Lashuna Kshirapaka. And Rasadravyas like Vata Vidvamsidrasa also will be used along with these Kashayas. Then Abhyanga, we can start. The examples are like Karpa Sasadi Taila, Narayana Taila, and Nasya will have to be continued. Murdi Taila Prayoga also is required here, like Shiro Seka or Shiro Vasti. And here, Ruksha Sveda is not to be done because it is a Kevala Vata Avastha. Go for Snigdha Svedas. What you call Snigdha Svedas also, there are various varieties are there. If there is more of stamba, like rigidity is more, Patropotala Sveda or Kaya Seka will be ideal. And if there is more of Balakshaya, Mamsa Shosha, etc., Shashtiki Shalipinda, because Brahmana is what is required there. If there is more Shosha and Balakshaya, if there is more Stamba, Patropotala Sveda will be tried. Then Virechana is required. Vasti is very important, either Yoga Vasti or Kala Vasti with various what you call Vata Shamana Dravyas or Brahmana type of Vastis will be required. And in this avastha, as I told earlier, kashayas cannot be given for months together. We need to provide what is most appropriate at this stage. That is nothing but snigdha prayoga. So Kshirabala avarti, like 101 or different avartis, Sahasradi avartis need to be given to the patient either along with kashaya or with other suitable anupanas like Kshira. And Medhya Rasayanas are also very ideal in some of the patients, because Jnanendriya Hani will be very what you call projected in some of the patients. So Medhya Rasayana Prayoga is also required. And don't forget about rehabilitation. See, Vata Vyadhi like Pakshagata, especially chronic, we know that most of the conditions are Krichra Sadhya, not even Krichra Sadhya, Yapya. Some of the difficulties they may have to adjust throughout the life, like not able to use all the fingers, not able to have their normal gait. So this will definitely restrict them from doing the activity which they were doing earlier, that is before getting the disease. And patients who are patients bystanders who are not aware of this situation, they will wait and expecting that one day this person will be 100% free from the condition, which unfortunately may not happen at all in this patient. So we should not keep the patient or his family in dark just by giving medicines and just by giving what you call giving optimism. It is our duty to what you call educate or give the facts to the patient and encourage him to involve in whatever activities that are possible. If he was a manual labor earlier, if he you know that he cannot go back to his what you call that type of physical activity, encourage him to do certain activities, like he can he can work as a shopkeeper, he can go for a job of an attender, so where what you call these physical activities are comparatively minimum. So this is also our responsibility as a Vaidya. Okay. So common yogas, I'm not what you know, I actually I didn't like to give these slides, but just for a completion of the whole presentation, like common yogas, uh, I have just given the list because it may not be very appropriate in all the conditions. See, Gandharvastha Kashaya, very good in Pakashaya Vata. When a Pakshagata patient comes, then only we give Gandharvastha Kashaya to in order to clear whatever Vata Prakopa is there in the Pakashaya. So this should not be taken word by word. It's only an optional. Bhadradarodi Kashaya better in Ekanga Roga, Sarvanga Roga. Pakshagata Vidaryadi Kashaya is better Brahmana. Dhanvantara Kashaya is good. Pakshagata Shosha Supti. Kottam Chabda Taila is Ushna Tishna, better in Kafanubandhi Sandishulas. Sahacharadi Taila, better in Adhaka Ayashita Vata like Kampa, Akshepaka. Karpasasadi Taila, Pakshagata Ardita. Kshirabala Taila, Prasarani Taila, Balashwanda Taila. Okay. Gandharvastha, the Eranam is Anulomana, good in Katigraha Grudrasi, etc. And the presentation will not be complete if I don't mention about the significance of Vasti in Vata Vyadhis. Everybody, all of you know about that Vasti is Ardha Chikitsa. So different Vastis is not only for Shodhana. So various types of Astapana, Anuvasana, Yapana, Vasti should be what you call employed in our treatment of Vata Vyadhi depending upon the condition. Note down, no, please take note of the last one. Vastayah Kshira Sarpimshchi Tikta Kopa Hitani Cha. Whenever there is Vata Prakopa in the Asti Dhatu, Acharyas have advised us to use Vastis prepared with or processed with the Tikta Rasa Sadhita Kshira or Grita, because this particular combination works out there. Because in order to nourish the Asti Mahabhuta, this type of combination are required. So use Vastis judiciously. And Again, we need to advise our patient to follow a proper patya and apatya. Green are patya and red is apatya. And one thing I want you to note that many times we just tell them what not to be taken. What can be taken, that also we need to highlight. And also we need to educate them how to process all these aharas. See, for example, all shimbidanyas, pulses are, they're all vatakara except mudga. Mudga is also vatakara, but comparatively it is less vatakara. But we can advise the patient to make necessary changes in the adjectives and adjuvants, and how to process so that its vatakara action can be minimized. Otherwise, there will be very few items that can be taken by our patient, which is very unfortunate, and he will follow for a few days, then automatically he will go back to his normal, because food, if it is not interesting, they will not like to continue with that. They become very desperate, isn't it? So make it more interesting, make the patya very interesting by advising them to take it by only after by proper processing. So conclusion, nahi sarva vyadhyo bhavanti upaya sadhya. All vyadhis are not curable. Nacha upaya sadhyanam vyadhinam anupayena siddhirasti. If there are some sadhya vyadhis, they will not be cured on their own. We have to do the upayas, that is chikitsas, then there will be siddhi. Nacha asadhyanam vyadhinam bechaja samudayo ayamasti. See, vata vyadhi, to be frank, it is definitely an area of Ayurveda Vaidyas where a lot of opportunities are there for us to explore various treatment modalities. It is our area, in short. But we cannot be over enthusiastic, and we should not declare that do you have Pakshagata, do you have an autoimmune disease, and you are having a Vata Vyadhi, Ayurveda is a good option. If there is a Lakshana, if there is a Asadhya Vyadhi, or if there is a Vyapya Vyadhi, we should be frank enough or open enough to tell that or accept that. Nacha asadhyanam vyadhinam bechaja samudayo ayamasti. We don't have treatment for asadhya vyadhi. Okay. Parikshakarino hi kushala bhavanti. Those Vaidyas who examine all the factors mentioned under Roga Parisha, all the factors mentioned under the Rogi Parisha, and all the factors which are necessary for Yukti and Chikitsa, only that Vaidya will become Kushala or successful. Vayur balam vayur data sharirinam. Vayur vishwamidam sarvamam prabhum vayuscha kirtitaha. With these words, let me conclude the presentation. Hope I have not given more than what is expected by me, or those which are very important. Hope I have not skipped also. I know there are some limitations, like we cannot explore the treatment, or we cannot explain treatment of each and every disease. But whatever is important as a practitioner, I think I have shared with you. I hope that everyone will try each and every day to learn more and more about all Vyadhis, not only Vata Vyadhi, and to become better physicians. Thank you.
That was indeed a knowledge encircling session. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your valuable wisdom. Now we shall move on to the discussion session. Delegates, you can ask doubts through the chat box. Please don't unmute your mic. I call upon Subhana, final year student Ashtangam, to mediate the discussion.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So may I move to the first question, ma'am?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, ma'am. We have the first question by Dr. Ashwini Sujita. How can we treat Kroshtaka Shirshaka?
How can we treat Kroshtaka Shirshaka?
Yes, yes.
Am I expected to explain all the treatments of different Vata Vyadhis? It will be what we call time consuming, but Kroshtaka Shirsha is a Vata Shonita Pradhana Vyadhi. There is both Vata Prakopa and Rakta Prakopa, and we need to give treatment for both these dushtis. Like almost like what treatment advice has been given in Vata Shonita Vyadhi or Vata Rakta Vyadhi. Okay. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, that's enough. Okay. The next question is treatment protocol of Rakta Avrita Vada Rakta Gata Vada Aushathas.
Aushadas.
Yeah,
See,
for the
first
Rakta
let us
Avrita Vata.
understand the difference between Raktagata Vata and Raktavrita Vata. Raktagata Vata is the Prakupita Vata. During its Prasaravastha will go to Rakta and there it takes Sthana Sanshaya. As a result, the patient will develop lakshanas like different arunshi, daha, bhuktasya stambam. That is, whenever he takes some santarpana ahara, there will be what you call gatra stamba. All these lakshanas will be presented by this patient. Whereas Raktavrita Vata, it is almost like Vata Shonita Vyadhi. There is the patient is exposed to both Rakta Dushtikara Nidanas and Vatakara Nidanas, and as a result, he will end up in Vata Shonita Vyadhi. So here, Vata Shonita treatment protocol has to be followed in Raktavrita Vata. Like if patient is eligible, go for Rakta Mokshana, then Virechana, Vasti, and only then Shamana Aushadas like Guduchadi Kashaya, Rasnaradi Kashaya, Manjishtadi Kashaya. And coming to Rakta Gata Vata, in Rakta Gata Vata, we need to see which is Prabala here. Though Rakta earlier there is no Dushti, Vata has gone there and it has created some Vaishamya there. So if Rakta is what you call producing more Dushti Lakshanas like Daha, Raga, etc., we need to go for Rakta Shamana Chikitsas. Like again, Majishtadi Kashaya, Guruchadi Kashaya can be employed here. But remember, there is Vata in associated. So Atishita Prayoga may disturb Vata also. So we need to consider both Rakta and Vata. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. The next question is treatment principles for recurrent attack of stroke, Vata Vyadhi.
Treatment principle for recurrent attack of stroke. That means once a patient develops stroke or he has developed Pakshagata due to stroke, that is difference, isn't it? Stroke is an what you call incident. As a result, he develops a Pakshagata. Once he developed a Pakshagata, if he has to come to us, then whatever I told the Pakshagata Chikitsa, that needs to be followed. There is a chance for this patient to develop another stroke if this what you call Patya Ahara Vihara are not followed, or if in spite of our advice, if he stops the treatment, if he again goes for Ati Amla Rasa, Lavana Rasa Prayoga, Ati Madhyapana again and again, and if he goes for what you call Ati Manasika, what you call emotional extremes like Shoka, Krodha, there is every chance that he may get another stroke. So what we need to advise the patient regarding continuation of the treatment if needed, and regarding following Patya Ahara Vihara, and also if you find that some Rasayana Chikitsa are needed, like Medha Rasana, as I told earlier, that has to be added in our prescription. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Next question is a case patient having mild pain over flank regions and Mutravaha so the involvement symptoms are not observed. Patient is a lean and a vritha. What could be the management?
Please repeat.
Okay, ma'am. Patient having mild pain over the flank regions and Mutravaha so the involvement symptoms are not observed. Patient is lean and vritha. And what could be the management principle?
What could be the management principle? Before that, we have to find out what has gone wrong. So the pain in the flank region, it may be Mamsagata Vata. If he has bent somewhere to pick up something, that might have caused this pain in the flank region. Or if the patient has got any earlier episodes of the respiratory diseases, Kasa, Shwasa, or previous incident of Pranavaha Sroto Vyadis, that also should be checked. And if the patient has got Astikshaya, this Astikshaya patients sometimes they get pain in the lower ribs. They don't have pain anywhere. They will develop present with the pain in the lower ribs also. So all these things to be understood. And if it is only pain due to Mamsagata Vata, then first go for some Rukshana treatment like Lepa with Kottam Chukada Churna or Marma Vatika or Karta Vettu, and later you can go for Snigdha Prayoga. But if it is Astikshaya, of course, internal medicines, if required, need to be given. If it is Astikshaya, we have to be very careful because forceful Abhyanga will be harmful to that patient. So we have to go for more of internal medication which can give the nourishment to the Asti Dhatu.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is, how can we differentiate Kapha Avarana and Samavata and their differences in treatment?
Yeah. Samavata, Kapha Varana, it is a good question because when you see a patient, you get both the confusions in your mind, whether it is Samavata or Kaphavrita Vata. In Samavata condition, Kapha Dushti Lakshanas are also mingled, like Aruchi, Avipaka, all these Lakshanas are combined. And when you treat, the treatment will be little bit similar because you have to go for Deepana Pachana Chikitsa. Some patients of Kaphavrita Vata, the Kaphadushti Lakshanas will be maximum. There will be particular Shaityata in the body, or other srotasas are also involved, like Pranavaha srotas. A patient may present with the Pinasa, Pratishaya and all. In such cases, it will not be difficult to diagnose that this is definitely a Kaphavrita Vata. But if this Kaphadushti Lakshanas are very minimum, then you will be in doubtful. That time Upasha and Upasha will be helpful. You can go for the Deepana Pachana treatment. If it is only Samavata condition, by the treatment Deepana, by the time this Deepana Pachana is over, there will be Nirama Vata Avastha. But if it is a Kaphavrita Vata condition, by the time Deepana Pachana is over, the condition will not be over. That still there will be Kapha may remain there. Then you have to give Kaphahara treatment also. So once you start the treatment, it will become more clear for you in case it was a confusing at the time of examination. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is, ma'am, how can we treat a fatty liver patient with L4, L5 and L5S1 stiffness as well as severe pain and tenderness?
So what is the priority here? That needs to be decided first. We have to I think the question this doctor was interesting to know. Patient has got fatty liver, so if we give Sneha, whether that will be a problem for the patient because he has already has got fatty liver. I think probably that is the idea why this doctor has asked the question. But as far as we Ayurvedics are concerned, the mere presence of fatty liver should not prevent us from adopting Snehana. We need to see whether his Agni is functioning properly or not, and what is the Koshta Bala. So there should not be any hesitation to give the Vata Vyadhi Chikitsa in terms of Sneha Pana or Bahya Snehana, mostly Sneha Pana, even if the patient has got fatty liver. You advise the patient to avoid unnecessary fats or unnecessary Guru Aharas. That will solve his problem. If this is more troublesome, see, always there will be Pradhana Vyadhi and Anubandha Vyadhi. If in this patient, if Pradhana Vyadhi is Katigraha, then concentrate on that by giving due advices to the patient in order to make necessary changes in the food. Always go for good fat, and bad fat has to be avoided. Why to avoid snehas? Because his priority or our priority is to treat his Vata Vyadhi. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is, can we use Rakta Mokshana in any stage of Vata Vyadhi?
Yes, Acharyas have advised Rakta Mokshana, like one example is Gridhrasi. But there, there's in Sutrasthana and even in the Jwara Chikitsa, Acharyas have given a hint when actually Rakta Mokshana will be required. Any Vyadhi for that matter, if the patient doesn't respond to, Snigdha Ushna treatment or Shita Ruksha Chikitsa, then we need to understand that the Dushti is in the Rakta. That is, when we do treatment for Vata Pitta Kapha properly, and if the patient doesn't respond, understand that the Dushti must be in the Rakta, because Ati Snigdha treatment also may sometimes vitiate the Rakta. Ati Ushna also will vitiate Rakta. So in those avasthas, Rakta Mokshana can be done. So Grudrasi is a condition where Rakta Siravyada has been advised by Acharya. There also Acharya Sushruta very clearly tells that Grudrasishu Vatavadi Chikitsa Nantaram. That is, you do Vatavadi Chikitsa first. When it is not enough, then understand whether there is Rakta Dushti or not. Then go for the Shonita Mokshana. Acharya Sushruta himself has given this hint when we actually need Rakta Mokshana in Vatavyadis. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, next question is ankylosing spondylitis related to Vata Rakta or Amavata, and what are its treatment principles?
See, ankylosing, I usually go the other way. That is, this patient, when he comes to us, how he is presenting or what lakshanas he is presenting. Ankylosing spondylitis patients in the beginning stage, mostly, as far as my experience is concerned, they present with Amavasta, almost similar to Amavata, that too Pitta associated. It is not always Kapha Pradhana Amavata, Pitta associated Amavata. But when a chronic patient with ankylosing spondylitis approaches me, then mostly the diagnosis will be Kevalavata. So it all depends upon in which avastha patient approaches us. So ankylosing spondylitis initial conditions, if we consider that this is a Kevalavata Vyadhi, sometimes this Snigdha Prayoga may worsen the condition. So we have to observe, ask him again and again, and take a conclusion. And mostly in the beginning stages, it may, for your patient may present in a different way. From my experience, I am telling Amavastha, that too with Pitta Pradhana, and very chronic cases of ankylosing spondylitis, it looks like Vata Vyadhi, Kevala Vata Vyadhi, and Vatavedi Chikitsa can be employed there.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then.
How can we treat cervical spondylitis?
How can we treat cervical spondylitis?
Yeah.
Again, see, if there is spondylitis, many times we assume that there is cervical spondylitis whenever a patient develops neck pain. So neck pain, if it is only neck pain, it can be due to several reasons. It can be only a Mamsagata Vata, muscle spasm, or it can be a headache extending to the grava. It can be a stress induced what you call neck pain. So all these things we have to rule out first. And if we are very sure that it is a real case of cervical spondylitis where there is what you call vikriti in the asti majja, see, there is asti majja and sandhis throughout. It is not only in the knee joint, everywhere it is, there are sandhis, isn't it? So that also what you call there are also sandhis, there are also asti majja. So understand the intensity by seeing the lakshanas. If the pain is only during certain moments, or if there is a continuous pain, whether pain is limited to the grava or whether pain is what you call radiating downwards, all these things to be considered. And if there is kapha association, manya stamba treatment has to be followed in the beginning. Manyastamba treatment, with that is Kaphavrata Vata Chikitsa, where Ruksha Sweda Vidatavyo Nasyam. We have to go for the Ruksha Sweda like Valuka Sweda or Churnapinda Sweda, and Nasya is very, very beneficial in this type of conditions. If there is Kaphavrata, go for Vairechanika Nasya. I in some patients use Nasya with Lashunaswarasa in this type of conditions. So once that Kaphavarana is removed, then we can go for Anutaila Nasyam also. And if it is Kevala Vata, then Snehana, Svedana, Mrudu Virechana, all these are important, especially the Svedas after applying tailas like Parinata Keradi Taila are beneficial, because little more Tishnata is required if there is Mamsa involvement is also there, and Jambira Pinda Svedas are better, and the rest of the medicines like Rasana Saptaka Kashaya or Ashtavarga Kashaya, all these can be given in a cervical spondylitis case. If it is a very chronic and very severe Dhatukshaya is there, then we need to give Snigdha Prayoga internally. I go for either Gugulutitakagratham or Dhanvantara Tailam, Avartita Tailam, once the patient reaches that stage. Okay. Hello.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Okay. Dr. Falguni Thakkar is asking about the management of frozen shoulder.
Management of frozen shoulder. Maybe may look like Apabahuka, isn't it? So Apabahuka treatment, again, see whatever may be the Adhisthana, what we need to see is that whether it is Kevalavata or whether there is what you call another dosha association is also there. So the Chikitsa Sutra of Apabahuka has been mentioned that Apabahuke Hitam Nasyam Panascha Uttarabhaktikam or Snehascha Uttarabhaktikam. Both Uttarabhaktika Snehapana and Nasya are very important treatments in Apabahuka. But prior to that, we have to see whether it is Kevalavata or there is Kapha association is there. If there is Kapha association, go for Lepa Prayogas and medicines like Ashtavarga Kashaya or medicines like Dhanadhanayana Kashaya. Prasaranidhi Kashaya has been mentioned very good in Apabahuka case, but we have to wait until it becomes Kevalavatika, because Prasaranidhi Kashaya Snigdhabhava is more compared to Ashtavarga. So wait until that Kevalavata Avastha is attained, and then we can go with the Prasaranidhi Kashaya. And Nasya is very, very important, and Svedas, various types of Svedas. I think the Chikitsa Sutra slightly vary, but the avasthas was important, and accordingly we have to choose the medicine. There is no single medicine says only this you need to give frozen shoulder and it will cure. It is not like that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. What's the treatment for Erb's palsy?
Treatment for?
Erb's palsy. Erb's palsy, ma'am. Hello?
Hello. It's not very clear.
Treatment for Erb's palsy.
Erb's palsy, what are the lakshanas patient is presenting?
Not asked, ma'am. Only asked about the treatment.
Okay, switch out to next question.
Okay. Ma'am, treatment protocol for spondylolisthesis.
Almost like cervical spondylitis, what I mentioned earlier. Whether this happens in the cervical area or lumbar area, the treatment options are almost same, but for the difference is that when it includes the cervical area, more treatments which are necessary for Jatrurdva Gatavata, those treatments will be approached like Nasyam or Murni Taila Prayoga, etc. When it is in the lumbar area, more of what they call Vasti Chikitsa will be adopted. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yes. Any more questions, or is it over?
That's all. That's all, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
That's
okay.
Over
Thank
to
you.
you. And
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Subhana. Now I invite Vaidya Nazain sir to hand over the e-certificate as a token of gratitude and love towards Dr. Arathi PS. I also invite Dr. Arathi PS ma'am for receive the same.
Namaste, madam.
Namaste.
It is very much blissful to hear from you, madam, regarding the Vada Vyadhi and most from your experience regarding this Vada Roga Chikitsa and other things. So thanking for such a nice section in Chikitsa Siddhi to give such a important information to our students and all the participants. So thanking from Ashtangam Institution and on the behalf of all students and other participants. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is, we have a e-certificate and that's presenting to you. That's the duty of me. Thank you, madam. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Arya Suresh, final year student Ashtanga, for deliver the vote of thanks.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Honorable resource person, respected teachers, organizing committee, delegates, and my dear friends, a warm good evening to one and all. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on the closure of this third session of Chigilsa Siddhi 2020 National Webinar Series organized by Kai Chigilsa Department of Ashtangam Ayurveda Vidyabhid. I, Arya Suresh, on behalf of Ashtangam and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all would like to thank Almighty God for making today's event a great success. I would also like to extend my most sincere thanks to Dr. Arathi PS, Professor and HOD, Department of Panchakarma, Shantigiri Ayurveda Medical College, Palakkad, who spared time from a busier schedule for us. Thank you, ma'am, for your very interesting talk on Vadavyadi Chigilsa principles and practices. We are extremely grateful to our Kai Chigilsa department. I thank Vaidya Narayanan Nambi sir, HOD, Department of Kai Chigilsa Department Ashtangam, Vaidya Manoj sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Kai Chigilsa Ashtangam, and Vaidya Nanusri ma'am, Assistant Professor of Department of Kai Chigilsa Ashtangam, for providing us such great opportunity. I would like to thank Subhana, final year student Ashtangam, for reciting the prayer. I would like to thank Aravind Suganan, final year student, for the welcome address. I also would like to thank Ajay sir for handing over the e-certificate. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all delegates and all dear friends for your keen participation, which made this event a resounding success. Thank you all.
Thank you, Arya. Delegates, please make sure that you have filled the feedback form. Tomorrow, we will have our fourth section of Chigilsa Siddhi on the at 2 to 4 p.m. on the topic Adhisara and Grihini, Principles, Practices and Principle, by Dr. Jidesh M, Professor and HOD Department of Kai Chigilsa, VPSV, Ayurveda College, Kottakkal. Hereby we winding up this section of Chigilsa Siddhi 2020 web seminar third series. Once again, thank you everyone.